Good morning, students. So in the last class we have seen the three terms associated with an operating system, that is efficiency, user service and um, system performance, right? And in today's class we will see the different classes of an operating system. First, let me brief about the different classes of an operating system and mm, so at what year, in which year those operating systems were developed, and what is the prime concern, right? And what are the key concepts, right, in the form of a table. And we will see later in this chapter these classes of an operating system in detail. Okay, so let me start about the briefing of an different classes of an operating system. The first class, the different classes of an operating system are five different types. One is the batch processing unit, batch processing operating system, multi-programming OS, time sharing OS, real time and distributed OS, right? So in today's class we will see three different types of operating system in detail, and in next class we will discuss the other two, right? So the first operating system class is batch processing operating system, which is developed in 1960s. Now what was the prime concern? CPU idle time, right? So we mainly concentrated on CPU idle time. We kept CPU very busy doing one or the other work, and we have reduced the CPU's idle time. That means uh, keeping a CPU idle, right? So that time will be reduced in case of batch processing operating system. So what are the key concepts here? Automate the transition between jobs, right? So the jobs are provided, the user jobs are provided in the form of a batches, right? That we will see in later in detail. Okay, the user jobs are provided in the form of a batches, right? So and one of the one batch, if when one batch of the uh, user job gets completed, and automatically the CPU has to switch to the other batch, right? So in this way the CPU idle time is going to be reduced. Second one, the multi-programming. As the name itself tells, there are multiple number of programs which are going to be run in operating system, which is again developed in 1960s, right? And what was the prime concern there? Resource utilization, right? Different resources which are connected to a computer system, or you can say the network, right? So those resources will be used very efficiently. That was the prime concern in case of multi-programming operating system, right? So how is the what was the key concepts? Program priorities and preemption. What is program priority? The priorities are assigned, the preferences are given to the user programs, and very critical programs are will be executed first, and the least critical programs will be executed later, right? Like that, priorities are assigned to different user programs. And the preemption, right? Preemption means whenever the higher priority programs starts or gets executed, then the resources which are allocated to least priority programs will be preempted. That means deallocated from those programs, and those resources will be assigned to higher priority programs, right? So that is the preemption. Later, you don't worry about these points at this stage. Later we will discuss these things in detail. Okay, next one, time sharing, which is again which is developed in 1970s, right? What was the prime concern there? Good response time, right? So as soon as the user submits a job to the operating system or a computer system, so it should not take much time to finish it, right? So that was the prime concern in case of time sharing, right? So good response time. Response time we have already discussed. This is the time elapsed or time taken by an operating system to complete one sub request, right? Next, what was the key concept? Time slice, round robin scheduling, right? So we are going to discuss these things in detail, right? So as we have already discussed, what was the scheduling? That was the prime that was the main task of an operating system, or which will be handled by the part of an operating system, which we call it as scheduler, right? So uh, the scheduler will select a user program, and it will be assigned to it will be given to a CPU, right? With a timestamp, right? So the CPU will execute those programs until that timestamp gets over, right? So that is the time slice and the round robin scheduling that we will see later. Next, the fourth class of an operating system is real time. Real time in the sense it was developed in 1980s, right? So meeting the time constraints, right, for critical operations like missile guidance, right? So missile guidance is a very critical thing. If I don't guide it properly, then the enemy missile may harm our country's missile and all, right? So they may destroy the missiles which are existing at our country, right? So in case of war scene, I am explaining this, right? So these operating systems should perform on a timely basis, right? So it has to meet the time constraints of those jobs, right? So what was the key concept here? Real time scheduling, right? So without wasting of time or without much delay, that particular program needs to be completed within a given time. So that was the key concept in case of real-time operating system. And the last one, distributed operating system. As the name itself tells, the operating system is going to be distributed throughout different computers, right? And different computers will take care of different jobs at the same time. So which was developed in 1990s, or you can also call this distributed operating system as a parallel operating system, because the same job will be is going to run on different computer systems parallelly at the same time. So what was the prime concern there? Resource sharing. There is a difference. Resource utilization is different, resource sharing is different. Resource sharing in the sense the computer system has some resources which are available to it, right? And if they are connected, if the different computers, let us say 5 to 10 computers are connected to a network, right? So computer system having a large number of resources that can be shared with the among other computer systems which are connected to a network. Next, what are the key concepts? Distributed control and transparency. These terms we will see later in the chapter. Okay, so moving to the next slide, this was the brief about the different classes of an operating system. Let us see these classes of an operating system in more detail. Okay, the first one, batch processing system. What is a batch? A batch is a sequence of user jobs, right? So user jobs here, you can say user programs or user processes, right? So this is a batch. Batch means a set of user jobs, right, formed for processing, right? So finally we are going to execute the user programs on the CPU, right? So by forming the different batches formed for processing by the operating system. The computer operator formed a batch by arranging few user jobs in a sequence and inserting a special marker cards to indicate the start and end of the batch, right? So user program, or what he does, he will collect different user programs and he will form a batch, and it will insert a marker is in the marker in the form of addresses, you can say, right, or a timestamp, you can say, right? So at the starting point you can put one timestamp, and at the ending point you can put another timestamp. So if that timestamp elapses, then he can assume that the entire batch is processed by the operating system, or sorry, the central processing unit, and it is ready for the processing further, right, or the results are ready, right? So the programmer will insert the marker is in the form of timestamps, or in the form of what or in the form of the addresses, right? Next, the batch of jobs was first recorded on a magnetic tape. How they are going to be processed? The batch of jobs again here in the sense the programs or processes, they are first recorded on a magnetic tape using a less powerful or a cheap computer, and this magnetic tape will be connected to a processor, right? And the processor will start fetching the instructions one by one from this magnetic tape, right? So how this batch processing systems are divided? The first, we are going to create a batch. So once the batch is created, the job is submitted to a processor, right? So a job is submitted. This here the job is submitted is it is not uh, a batch, it is a user program, right? So a user program is submitted first and the programmer will form a batch. So that will be the programmer will take some time to form a batch. So you can denote T0 to T1. This is the time elapsed to form a batch, right? So at T1 the batch is formed, right? So I'm giving a job to a programmer, I'm giving my program or a process to a programmer to execute or to form a batch, right? So once the batch is formed, it will be given to a central processor unit, right? Central processor unit, and that particular batch will be executed during the time between T1 and T2. So once the time T2 gets elapsed, then the result is going to be present for the user. The result is going to be present for user, and those results, if you want, he can print it on using printers or resources, you can say. And during this time interval T2 to T3, results will be printed, and at T3 results will be allocated, or they are ready for the user. Results are returned to user, right? So here submission of a job or submission of a program to a programmer to form a batch, and the results are available for the users, right? So the time elapsed between these two things is called the turnaround time, right? So submission of a request and completion of that request, what is the time elapsed between these two, submission request and the results are available, right? So what is the time elapsed between these two is called a turnaround time, right? So in the batch processing unit, the programmer will collect the programs of a different users, and he will form a batch. He will insert the markers in the form of address or a timestamps. Then he will give that entire batch to the operating system, and operating system will assign that particular batch to central processor unit, and central processor unit will execute that batch, and the results will be given back to the programmer, right? So this is a batch processing system. What was the prime concern here? What was the prime concern? Let us go back to that table. The prime concern was CPU idle time. CPU is always kept busy, right? Because automatically the program is going to or the CPU is going to be switched between the user batches, or between jobs, you can say. Next, the second class of an operating system is a real-time operating system. As the name itself tells, real-time operating system, this operating system should perform or it should perform jobs on real-time applications, you can say, right? So the real-time applications should have a real-time operating system which should perform the jobs in a timely manner, right? So time constraint is a very prime concern here, right? So let us see what is a real-time operating system. In real-time applications, users need the computer to perform some actions in a timely manner to control the activities in an external system, right? So users want this real-time operating system should perform the different operations in a timely basis, to control the activities in an external system. So let me see the definition here. So this is the definition of a real-time application: a program that responds to the activities in an external system within a maximum time determined by the external system. Let us say I want the results of a program P1 after 5 seconds, right? So this is the time constraint, right? I want means I want, because the criticality of this program is more, or you can say that program is very critical, right? So the results of these programs are going to be given to some other program which we are going to from which we can expect the final results, right? in such cases the program P1 will become very critical, and the P1 result should be available within this time, let us say 5 seconds. So before 5 seconds before or at that 5 second, the results of program P1 should be available, which will be given to the next program, right, or which will act as an input for next program. If it takes a much delay, then the next program has to wait, let us say the P2 has to wait until the results of P1 comes, right, because P2 depends on the results of P1. If P1 takes a much delay, then P2 has to wait, right, and you can say if that job is very critical, then you may get some kind of disturbance, you may get some kind of disturbance in your final result. Let me take one example, a real-time example, you can say. Consider a system that logs data received from the satellite remote sensor, right. So there's a sensor, there's a base station at the ground, right, and there's a satellite in the space. Then we are considering a system that logs data received. So what do you mean by data logs data received? The satellite is going to continuously send the data, and the base stations has to collect that data, and it has to store within the time or before the time the next data comes from the satellite. So let me discuss this example in detail here. The satellite sends a digital samples to the earth station at the rate of 500 samples. So this rate is not important, so what I'm trying to explain, that is important. So it is sending 500 samples per second. Let us say, you can say 500 bits you can take a 500 bits, right, instead of samples you can take 500 bits. So satellite is sending 500 bits, the data in the form of digital data in the form of digitized, right. So it is sending 500 bits per second. The application process is required to simply store these samples in a file. The base station or the operating system which is sitting in the base station computer system, so that has to store these 500 samples before the next 500 bits or 500 samples come. Next, since a new sample arrives every 2000th of a second. What do you mean by 2000 second? I am talking about only one bit here. A new sample, I am talking about only one bit or one sample here. So one bit, when it arrives, how much time it takes to reach the base station? It is 1 upon 500, right. In 1 second we are getting 500 samples, right. So in one bit we will get in 1 upon 500, which is 1 upon 500 is 0. How much? 0 0 2 0 0 2, or we can call it as 2 millisecond, right. So this is 2 millisecond. That means every sample is going to arrive at the base station after every 2 millisecond, right. So the the operating system which is sitting in a base station computer system, that must record that sample, and it has to store before the next sample arrives. That means the maximum time it can take is 1.99 millisecond, right. Before that it has to store it, and it should be ready to receive the next sample, right. The computer must respond to every store and sample request in less than 2 milliseconds, or the arrival of new sample would wipe out the previous sample in the computer memory. If finally I am trying to, let us say, if I am trying to collect all this data, and if I am trying to generate one map, you can say, right, it may be sending the latitude and the longitude of a place or a remote place, right. So after collecting all this data, then I'll form a map, let us say, right. So if I start missing some of the bits or some of the samples, right, in such cases the map will not be generated completely, right. So we will be having some empty spaces because of missing out some of the samples or bits, right. So in such cases the operating system which is sitting in the base station should be a real-time operating system, and it should collect all the data which are sent by the operating satellite within a time, right. So if that time elapses, if it doesn't collect before 2 milliseconds, then what happens? The previous data will be wiped out, it will be wiped out by the next incoming bit. Okay, so this is about the real-time operating system, and in the next slide we will see, in the next class only we will discuss what are the different types of an operating real-time operating system. Okay, thank you.